Part 1, Syllable Structure. In this section, we're going to learn how to transcribe syllable boundaries in phonetic transcription and to break down syllables into their component parts. The syllable can first be broken down into the onset and the rime. The rime can further be broken down into the nucleus and the coda. Based on the syllable structure, we will then identify syllables as open or closed. Finally, we can visualize the syllable structure in a tree diagram. Most of you probably know how to count the number of syllables in a word. Most people have good intuitions about how many syllables are in a word, but deciding where syllables begin and end can be harder. A good beginning, or rough definition, is that a syllable is a unit of speech consisting of one vowel or diphthong and possibly one or more consonants. These consonants may precede and/or follow the vowel. Later, we will learn that there are some exceptions to this definition of the syllable, but it's a good working definition for now. In phonetic transcription, we transcribe syllable boundaries using a period or dot between the end of one syllable and the beginning of the next. However, there is no need to place that mark next to the slashes that indicate the beginning and the end of the transcription itself, because they already indicate a boundary. On the exam, you will be expected to be able to mark syllable boundaries on words of more than one syllable. You can find some examples here and in your book, and you should practice transcription of syllable boundaries. Sometimes even counting the number of syllables in a word can be difficult, such as when the word contains a diphthong or a sequence of vowels, or when the l or phonemes follow a vowel. For example, I can say the word fear or the word curl as if they have one syllable or two. Listen: fear versus fear, and curl versus curl. Now try it yourself with some of the other example words on the slide. Pause the recording here and try it. How many syllables you hear can depend on how fast or slow the talker says the words, or on an individual person's pronunciation. When you make your own judgments of the number of syllables in a word, try to base it on a pronunciation that is not overly slow or careful. The parts of a syllable are called sub-syllabic units. The first division of the syllable that we can make is into two parts, the onset and the rime. Within each syllable, the onset consists of any consonants that precede the vowel. The rime consists of the vowel and any consonants that follow the vowel in that syllable. A syllable does not always have to have consonants in the onset. For example, the word off has one syllable with no consonants in the onset of that syllable. Every syllable does, however, have to have a rime. The rime is said to carry the weight of the syllable. Notice that the word rime can be spelled two different ways. I prefer the first spelling, R-H-Y-M-E, because it reminds me that the rime is the part of the word that makes words rhyme. For example, the words bake and make each have one syllable. The onsets of these two syllables are different, but the rime is the same, ache. So bake and make rhyme because they have the same phonemes in the rime part of the syllable. Let's try some more. Fair and chair, dog and log, and cat and bat. The two words in each pair have different onsets, but the same rime, and therefore they rhyme. The onset-rhyme division of syllables is used in word games as well, including Pig Latin and the name game song. In the name game song, you take the onset of the first syllable of the person's name and you replace it with different phonemes. For example, for the name Jerry, the name game song goes as follows: Jerry, Jerry, Boberry, Banana, Fana, Fo Fairy, Me, My, Mo, Mary, Jerry. Try the name game song with your own name. Another example of playing with syllable structure is Pig Latin. In Pig Latin, you take the onset of the first syllable in the word, and then you add the A sound to it, and you move it to the end of the word, making a new syllable. For example, Harry, Hay, Otter, Pay is the Pig Latin version of the name Harry Potter. If you know what udge erkwe means, then you've done good work. And don't be afraid of they, igbe, adbe, ulfwe. Because the rime is made up of both the vowel and any following consonants in the syllable, it can be further divided into two parts called the nucleus and the coda. The nucleus is the vowel in the syllable, if the syllable contains a vowel. Sometimes a nasal consonant, or an ul sound, or occasionally other phonemes can function as the nucleus of the syllable, if a vowel is missing from the syllable. But we won't see examples of that until later modules. For now, just assume every syllable has one vowel and that the vowel is the nucleus of the syllable. The coda of the syllable consists of any consonants in the rime that follow the nucleus. Every syllable must have a nucleus, and the nucleus is almost always a vowel. But not every syllable has a coda. For example, the words row, see, tray, two, and boy all have one syllable with no consonants in the coda. We have special terms for syllables that do or do not have consonants in the coda. A syllable with consonants in the coda, like in the word cat, is called a closed syllable. A syllable with no consonants in the coda, like the word see, is called an open syllable. One way to remember this terminology is that open syllables usually end with a vowel, and the mouth is typically more open when you make a vowel sound than when you make a consonant sound. Pause the recording here and do practice exercises 2.11, 2.12, 2.13, 2.14, and 2.15 to check your understanding. You can check your answers in the back of the book, and if you don't get the right answers, review the reading or listen again to this recording, or post a question on the discussion board to help you to understand. A tree diagram of the phonological structure of a word is a way of visualizing the structures we have already discussed: the syllable, the onset, the rime, the nucleus, and the coda. For example, on this slide, I've diagrammed the word blackjack using a tree diagram. You always start the word tree the same way, with the W at the top for word. Next, count the number of syllables and put one sigma symbol. You can see this slide for an example. It looks like a little circle with a little line off to the right under the word symbol for each syllable, and then connect the syllable symbols to the word symbol with lines. Next, under each syllable symbol, draw an O and an R for onset and rime. Then, under the R for rime, write a letter N for nucleus and a letter C for coda. Connect the different levels with lines as you did earlier. Next, just fill in the phonemes. For example, the first syllable of blackjack is black. Identify the onset and the rime first. I find that this is easiest by finding the vowel first and then separating. The vowel and any consonants that follow it in the syllable are the rime. So in this case, the vowel, which is a, and the consonant, which is k, make up the rime, ak. Then, the onset consists of any consonants that precede the rime in that syllable. In this case, the b sound and the ul sound. So the onset is b and ul, the rime is ak, the nucleus is a, and the coda is k. Moving on to the second syllable, the rime is again made up of the a sound and the k sound, ak, but the onset contains only the j sound. So the onset is j, the rime is ak, the nucleus is the vowel, or a, and the coda is any consonants that come after the vowel in that syllable, just k in this case. I've drawn a couple more examples on this slide. You don't have to make word trees for the exam, but using word trees may help you to more easily identify the onset, rime, and coda of the syllables. They are a good way of visualizing the syllable structure. There are more examples at the end of the chapter and throughout the chapter in your textbook. Now let's try a brief exercise. Pause the recording and identify the letters or graphemes corresponding to the rime, nucleus, and coda in the following words: shrine, scold, plea, and friend. Here are the answers. Check your answers against the letters that are underlined in each case and try to identify your mistake in any cases where you got one wrong. In this slide, I've diagrammed word trees for the words that were used in the previous slide, and I've also transcribed them phonetically for you.